Welcome to Mailbag, the podcast that's cooler than a guilty secrets and penalty. I am joined this week by hash brown enthusiast Anna Farrell, hat enthusiast, although he's not wearing one today. They're all on the antlers at the back. Dan Bain, and anti-football enthusiast Owen Parks. Everyone good this week? I mean, it's been a quiet one.
Yeah.
Not been nothing going on, really, has it? It's been quite
Anyone
boring.
still drunk? I think I sobered up all Thursday, to be honest.
It's been way too much positivity for my liking.
So do you know all the news that's come out in the week, which we'll touch on in the hot topics in a minute? Everton had all that lined up in case we got beat.
Yeah.
A lot of good news, wasn't it, in 1 week?
I know, that's why I feel like I don't know how to handle it. Like, I'm not used to this. I don't know whether to fully immerse myself and be like, this is amazing, or to just be like,
Well, it's building up to 2-0 Danny Ings, isn't it, on Monday?
Yeah.
That's
Not
where
even
this is headed.
Not even that. I'm thinking every day there's something positive that comes out of the club. I'm thinking tomorrow this is just for something negative that's going to come out. So the 5 days of positivity will just be confounded by 1 day of absolute negative feeling.
Southampton are going to beat us 9-0. That's what's going to happen.
That doesn't sound too surprising.
Hasenhüttl, Mr. Club Shop V2. It's just, oh man.
He is, isn't he? Hey,
it's just like
clobber.
It's just, if you got him, Klopp, and David Wagner all together, they'd be, they look like they've done a supermarket sweep around a club shop. You know what I mean? It's just,
it's like they've been kicked through Sports Direct.
Wonder if he'll cry if he'll beat us.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm so made up. It all went wrong after he did that. He absolutely deserved it for that. Right. Let's not kill the buzz. We'll get into the hot topics. First up, random Everton players at the ready. Oh, thanks to Keith for presenting last week as well. Did a belting job. I did like his little twist on the Everton players by saying one that scored in a derby. I've got no such rules for this one. So Everton players at the ready. What's your favourite ground apart from Goodison?
Royston Drenthe.
Go ahead, mate. What's the story?
Everton getting planning permission by the council to move to Bramley-Moore.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the Copites have gone quiet down the docks now, haven't they?
Yeah, the imaginary stadium shouts have gone down the mud, like, haven't they?
Yeah, can't right down now. Go on, what's your favourite ground apart from Goodison?
It's not an obvious one, and it's not one that you will know. But you might know. I might just be actually doing you all down there completely and saying you don't know it. But it would be it's not particularly picturesque or anything. But it's just the home of just war, and it's Getafe's Alfonso Perez.
A home of war.
Yeah, it's just like war. It just means war to me. And I just think it's amazing. And yeah, I would go for Getafe's Coliseum Alfonso Perez. It's home of Goodison, even though I've never been.
So what's it look like then? Does it look like
it's just a blue stadium, but it's quite small, and it always looks dead sunny.
You reckon it'd be horrible in there on match day?
Yeah. I've watched replays of when Ajax went there in the Europa League last season, and it's just nasty and visceral.
That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah. So it reminds me of Goodison on like a smaller scale.
Yeah, that would be cool. Dan, Hannah's disappeared. She's having Wi-Fi issues, so hopefully she'll be back in a minute. What's your favourite?
Just because of what it's where I saw my first game of football. It would be Leyton Orient. My uncle took me there when I was a kid to go and see Spurs in a pre-season game. But it's nothing special as a football ground, but it's around the corner from where I grew up and everything. And my uncle sort of took me there when he was trying to get me into supporting Spurs. So he used to take me there all the time when we couldn't.
All your family Spurs, aren't they?
And yeah, all of them. Yeah, I'm named after I'm named after Danny Blanchflower. My mum and dad had a row. With, I was either going to be named after Jimmy Greaves or Danny Blanchflower, and my mum won. And so yeah, they were all very disappointed when I veered off their already well-trodden path in the early 80s. But yeah, just the Orient, I love it. I used to know a guy who we all went to school with, who played for the Orient, and we used to go and watch him down there. And I once saw a bloke because you know, you're so close to the pitch and the football's pretty agricultural and stuff.
Yeah.
But I once saw a bloke who was 3 rows behind us eating a Balti pie, and we were near the corner flag, and the ball was going out, and there were 2 players running, one to try and keep it in, one to try and get rid of it. And we all could see what was going to happen. And he connected with it and sent it straight towards us. And we all ducked. And the geezer 3 rows behind us, who was completely oblivious to what was going on because he was so enjoying his Balti pie, got caught clean in the face, and it knocked him clean out.
Jesus, pie everywhere, balls.
And that's pie everywhere. And yeah, he was completely sparked out there to wheel him out to St John's Ambulance. But, you know, it was a wonderful day.
Yeah, I reckon if that happened, that would be my favourite ground as well, to be honest. Yeah, you can't beat little lower league grounds. I've got off of Prenton Park. Obviously, that's my nearest team.
Let's be honest.
I get absolute pelters for that now.
Let's be honest, as listeners at home, and I'll probably include yourselves in that, they were expecting me to say Turf Moor. Do
you know what? I was fully expecting you to say Turf.
Happy place.
I know, that was mad, that wasn't it? I would never say Goodison Park's my happy place. I love it. Oh, Christ. Got to be some sort of sicko to have your home team's football ground as your happy place. Han, what's your favourite ground outside of Goodison?
So you know what? I was actually going to go for Prenton Park. Yeah, but apart from that, I go for the place that was the first time when I was little, which you're going to say now makes you feel old, but I'm saying this is when I was little, but the first time I fully went into somewhere and felt tiny and was like, wow, football's massive type of thing. You know, when you see it in a big, massive stadium, it was the first time I went to Old Trafford. I just couldn't believe how big footy is. And I think that's the first time, I got it type of thing, you know, going to Goodison a few times, so then going to Old Trafford, and I feel like I was so much smaller than I was when I went, because it just seems huge. So I think that's the most I've ever been a bit ooh, do you know what I mean? The excitement I've got, it was never matched that, basically.
Yeah, it's got a different scale, hasn't it, Old Trafford? I think, yeah. I know it's what, 70,000 now anyway, but I think because Goodison's got the 4 distinct stands, I think when you get that massive bowl, it just has a totally different feel to it and a different sort of, I don't know, it just seems bigger, doesn't it?
You know what it reminds me of? This is dead silly, but you know, have you ever seen Harry Potter?
Only the first one.
Okay, well, there's what...
You've only seen one of them?
That's a disgrace, by the way, but anyway, I'll continue. On the Goblet of Fire, the 4th one, they have got the Quidditch World Cup, basically, and they're in this big, massive stadium where it all goes, up, and that's what it reminds me of when I was in Old Trafford. And I think that just always stuck with me then, imagining that, that's how I felt being dead little in this big, massive stadium.
If any ground was going to host the Quidditch World Cup, it would be Old Trafford, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
There's one ground, one of my favourite grounds I've never been in, but I've been past a few times, is Inverness Caledonia Thistle. So that's right, as you drive through Inverness and you're just going into the mad A roads in the Highlands, it's right on the coast. So the ground's situated right by the sea, and it's just a stunning location for the ground. But there's another one in Scotland, it's Galashiels. I think it's actually Garla Fairy Dean's ground. Yeah, it is. Which is one of the best names going anyway. But it's brutalist architecture, one of the stands. It just looks like it's just concrete, sharp angles, and it just looks mad. And I'd love to go just to see a lower division Scottish football be just outstanding anyway. But just set against that backdrop, it just looks mad. But yeah, some good answers there. Nice one. So next up, we've got... what's the most drunk you've ever been?
Is this another quick?
It's another hot topic.
Oh, Yakubu.
I don't know if anyone's ever said you Cable on this.
There we go.
What a fella. Go on then. What's the story?
It's just this week was all.
Basically, yeah. I don't think I've seen everyone quite as drunk for quite as long as this week. It just seemed to carry on until Monday, didn't it? It was.
I feel like it with you. Maybe this is a personal experience.
Yeah. No, it was just everyone was on the ale Saturday night, weren't they? And it was magic.
And I felt a bit like I was out, you know what I mean? Like I was the excitement I was having while having a bevy, like I didn't feel like I was just like chilling at ours, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it made it feel like a different experience.
Yeah, we did that very well. And people like Copite saying to us, I think I said this on the show with Rob, you celebrating like you won a cup final. It's like, no, we'll celebrate more than this when we win a cup, lads. Come on. Go ahead then, Ham. What's the most drunk you've ever been? Looking forward to this answer, to be honest.
Oh, are you labelling me there?
just from everyone, you know.
You know, no, the one that sticks out in my head because I lost every belonging I owned. It was the Monday morning of Glasgow, the last time I went. So it was in 2019, yeah. That Monday morning, I don't know what happened. I remember it being dark and like being with like my group of like close girl mates, and then suddenly it was broad daylight. I was with loads of people like I barely knew on my own. I didn't have a bag, a jacket, a hoodie, or a passport or a purse left. And the only thing I had gripped into my hands was my phone. Thank God, that's the only belonging in my. And yeah, I don't know. I just lost everything everything I owned. Like,
did you not get it back?
No. No, and like I just remember it was like a wave that came over me. I was suddenly freezing, aware of the fact it was about 8 a.m, just with little shorts and it's like a vest up on with no jacket, bag, anything. And I was just sort of like, what? Like, what happened there? But it must have been a good like 4-hour period. But yeah, ended up when I came home, I was going on holiday the next week to pay the consequences of it. I had to go and sit at the passport office for hours and explain where I thought it was. And I was like, probably a portaloo somewhere in Somerset. That's all I can give you on that information, basically. Like, I can't say anything else. But I was dead lucky, actually. I had this dead Scouse woman working in the passport office, and she was like, oh, my fella goes every year. Don't worry, lovely, you're not the first and the last. So she could tell I was sat there like, in like me hole.
That's the title for the podcast, by the way, A Portaloo in Somerset.
There we go. See, a lot of exciting things have happened in a portaloo in Somerset, I'll tell you that.
I don't even want to know. Owen?
Well, I'm not a heavy drinker, but mine was in the sort of dead zone between the pubs reopening last year and then going back into our 46th lockdown. So it was in the dead zone between that. The best way I can describe it is I don't remember anything other than being told to drink a load of drinks that I wouldn't even be able to recognise other than the taste, which was berserk, and me just walking around just feeling a bit lost. So that's the best I can give you. But yeah, it was a pretty rough one, let's just say that.
Yeah. When you're drinking drinks, you can't distinguish at all. It's never good.
No.
You get told to drink them as well. That's always a bad sign.
And I'd never been that drunk up to that point, and I still haven't. So it was pretty alien, the feeling, other than, wow, I feel really dizzy.
Well, it's not big and it's not clever, so you're right not to. Just health warning for the
I feel like Robert Head case now compared to that story.
Well, Dan must have something good on this. And we asked a similar question and involved the Palace of Bubbles and the Clash, which, I think that's been one of the best answers we've ever had on Mailbag for anything.
The one that again stands out because of the fact that I nearly lost my arm.
Okay.
I didn't feel like a head case now. That's fine.
I had one of those nights that wasn't meant to be Larry in my local pub in North London, and Friday night, just standard stuff. But I don't remember most of that. I remember all I remember is I woke up in the morning, fully clothed, on top of my bed, on top of the covers. And the immediate sensation was the pain in my head and the eyes that feel like they've been pulled out, rolled in glass, and stuck back in your head again, the wrong way around. And I went to get out of bed, and my left arm was completely numb. I couldn't move my fingers. I couldn't lift the arm, and it was like a sort of grey colour.
Jesus.
And
I feel panicked hearing it.
and I remember I sat at the end of the bed, trying not to throw up, but really aware that all of a sudden the hangover was dissipating because of the panic that I couldn't lift my arm at all. It was just sort of hanging like a limb, like a false limb. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And I lived across the road from a doctor's. And so I just got my shoes on and walked across the road to the GP surgery, absolutely stinking, about 8:30 in the morning, absolutely vile, stinking, carpet-mouthed idiot. Knew them quite well and sort of said, I've got a problem. My arm's completely dead. I can't feel my fingers. And then the receptionist took one look at it and went, right, I'll get the doctor out. And they got me to sit down for a bit. They kind of pulled me into the doctor's thing, and he looked at my arm and he was just like, okay, we've got a problem here. You've dislocated your shoulder and it's trapped. It's come out and trapped the nerve, and the blood circulation's gone from your arm.
Jesus.
You've lost the circulation in your arm. And we're going to have to get it in now and then get you straight to hospital because you might lose your arm. Because I've been laying on it and it had just gone lifeless. It was freezing cold and it was just horrific.
Oh, God.
So they called another doctor in. He sat on me. They put me on the bed like that, sitting upright. He came and sat across my chest, and the doctor pulled my arm out like that. He turned my wrist the wrong way round and then went bang like that.
Oh.
And there was a sound that was similar to, when you tread on a bag of crisps.
Oh.
You're sure he was a doctor?
There was then a searing white heat pain. It was like someone was burning my fingertips. It was bizarre. They then put me in a transfer vehicle and sent me straight to A&E. I spent the rest of the day having MRIs and all that sort of stuff. I ended up leaving a late afternoon, arm in a sling, physio booked, painkillers, all that sort of stuff. I got home and my flatmate was sitting in the lounge, and I lived at the time with a French psychobilly kickboxer.
Of course you did.
called Olivier. And Olivier, known to his friends as Ye, had his name, Ye, tattooed inside his lip.
Love.
And he used to call me Dogface for some reason. And I walked in the flat with my arm like this, looking pretty shit. And he went, hey, Dogface. And I was like, you all right? And he went, what you done to your arm? And I was like, I don't know. I woke up and he went, oh, no. I went, what? He was like, I get home last night. I need a shit. I go in the bathroom and you are wedged. Your feet are on the door and your head is on the bath. And you are flat on the floor. I cannot get the door open and I need a shit. So I push the door, I get your legs up, and then I get your arm and I lift you up. He goes, there was like a bang, and you open your eye and you scream, fuck! He goes, you then go back to sleep. So I put you to bed. I was like, all right. He was like, so what happened to your arm? I was just like, no. You clearly pulled it out of its socket.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So he
tried to lift fair play to him. He lifted a 13, 14 stone man, dead weight, off a bathroom floor.
By his arm,
which is pretty fair. I mean, he was a double-hard sod, this guy. He was like fully tattooed. He used to skip in the car park of our flats with no top on and sort of do all that stuff, all that business. And like he was completely ripped to shit. He looked like someone had doodled all over Bruce Lee. It was like, and the neighbours used to watch him off. All the ladies used to watch him over the balcony, But yeah, so fair play. He managed to lift me off the floor, but in doing so, he completely wrenched my left arm out of his socket.
Jesus.
Wow. You win.
Yeah.
I know it's not a game to win, but you win with that story, I'd like to say.
Yeah. Do you know what? I much preferred the Palace of Bulls and Drummond with the clash. It was a much nicer story. I wasn't listening to that one with my hands over my mouth.
That's the one that stands out.
Oh God! Well,
it was the description of. Have you ever heard the sounds of walking over a bag of crisp? That's
horrible.
I won't be able to have my brekkie after this. I'm a bit like.
See, Owen, and that's why you should never accept drinks off strangers. Or live with a French kickboxer, it seems. Right, we'll go on to Ask Us Anything now. Tom Bratley has asked, what has been your favourite... We're going on a theme here. What's been your... just before we go into that. Favourite ground apart from Goodison? Useless. Mark Allison said his favourite ground of Goodison is the old Highbury. He's experienced the full spread of emotions at that ground and many good friends who are Arsenal fans. Yeah, that's one I always would have liked to have gone to. Do you ever go there, Dan?
I only went once. My kid goes to school with a guy whose family owned the Arsenal house on Gillespie Road opposite Highbury, which is like the sort of, it's where all the players used to drink after the games and stuff. It's like, they own the house, but they can't do anything with it. It has to stay as this Arsenal relic thing. It's got a bar in it and all that. And I went to Highbury about 6 months before it went, and it was incredible. I went to see Arsenal Fulham there, and it was amazing. It was really good.
Yeah, it always looks like a brilliant little ground, though.
Yeah.
Fulham's one of my favourites as well. One of the best ways going for them. And most drunk you've ever been, Matty said, I was so drunk once, I snapped the arm off my glasses and was asking people for a lighter so I could smoke it.
Brilliant. I like this fella.
That's amazing. He's a good lad, Matty, but that's class, that. Right. Ask us anything. Tom Bratley has asked, what's been your favourite lockdown alcohol discovery? Oh, and I think I know yours, but I'll come to you first anyway on this. Random drinks that you don't know the name of?
Yeah, random drinks. I believe they were like shots and all that kind of stuff. So I couldn't actually give you a name of what they were. It was just a mixture of everything.
Yeah.
Have you found one that you liked?
No.
No?
I haven't drank since because it was that bad.
Oh, that bad. I can't take the whiff of Southern Comforts anymore. It knocks me sick. One bad experience on scarred me for life. Hannah, what have you discovered? Any bevies that you like in lockdown?
You know what? It's staying with the bevy that I drink, but I found a great bargain with it. So anyone who doesn't know, Aldi, you can go and buy boss little cans of pale ale and IPA, and they're all like 90p and stuff, and they're dead. Everything in Aldi is nice in it, all the knockoffs. And the boss, all these boss little pale ales and IPAs, and you can choose all the different what you want. So
yeah, you've got those different cans, haven't you?
Yeah, so I just go and do that because they're like 90p. So that's been my lockdown finds.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, job's good. Dan?
I think it's my my renaissance. I'm going to call it my beige renaissance, and it's the fact that I've fallen back in love with Baileys.
Yeah.
It was my drink of choice in the 90s when I was a Britpop has-been, eyeliner and a large Baileys, and then wonder why I got my head kicked in a lot. And when you're standing in a bar in Southend-on-Sea with brothel creepers, eyeliner, a menthol cigarette, and a large Baileys, you haven't got a lot of comeback when you get bottled, have you? Really? But yeah, over Christmas, my sister bought me like a litre of it. And it
goes so quick, doesn't it? Yeah, I did that. I started drinking Baileys in like October this year because I was like, fuck it, if there's ever a year to start early, it's now. And I was getting through like bottles of it because it just goes down too nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have it mixed with anything or?
So I've started to try and lengthen it, right? because I want it to be more of a. I want to look more sophisticated at the end of the day. So I smash a bit of vodka in it, and then a shot of Kahlua in it, and make like a White Russian.
Yeah,
like a sort of Council Estate White Russian. Yeah.
What do you call it?
A Council Estate White Russian.
Yes, that'll do. I'm putting that on the list.
A caravan park White Russian. But yeah, so cheap vodka, some Kahlua, and top it up with Baileys and loads of ice, and cool. Oh, there's a dog.
I shit myself then.
Always enjoy animal content on Mailbag.
I just saw a long nose.
For anyone listening on the pod, I think Dan's just phased out a little bit there, but his dog Snout just gave him a little kiss on the corner of the screen there. It was lovely.
I feel like I was so invested in the story when I saw the nose, it probably threw me off.
So basically, we've all got to try Kahlua.
Oh dear.
And Baileys. Sounds good to me.
Vodka, Baileys, yeah. If
You know, when I just
really
want to
fancy.
Go on,
What you can do, you get, you know the weird Nigerian export Guinness that's like 7%, right?
Not familiar with it, but it should
Me
be.
neither.
Right. Well, so do your Kahlua, do your vodka, do your Baileys. Then you get a bottle of the Guinness Export super strong Nigerian Guinness, and you pour it over a spoon into it, and you get like a layered Guinness top on it.
Oh, a little bit of froth.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Banging.
I was just going to say,
the
by the
line
way,
of it.
Baileys in summer is underestimated. Everyone thinks it's a Christmas drink. Baileys in the summer with loads of ice in it is the nicest summer drink you can have. Just want to put that up there.
My thoughts are already turned into the Aperol Spritz, I think. Definitely.
I love a good Aperol.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed now. Next up, Matt Lusk's asked, bit of a heavy one this. What gaff do you hope doesn't return from lockdown? Well, I've got a couple I can think of, but they're all owned by the same fella, and I think people who know me who this is. So I'm not going to say it. I do like one of his bars, but he's a big fan of it. Anyway, what do you? Is there any gaff you hope doesn't return from lockdown? That you can say. I can think of one maybe more that you can say.
That would have been mine as well.
What's that?
Yeah.
That would have been mine as well. I played absolutely weeks 4 miles before you get to it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's just, working in the industry that I do, making beer and selling beer and whatever, it's just they're the epitome of the race to the bottom,
Yeah.
And, because of their 1970s pricing, everybody believes that they're entitled to drink beer at the cost of it, that it did in 1982, because that you can buy it in a Wetherspoons at the price of 1982. It's just like, yeah, but it's like being in 1982,
Yeah.
Just because it's £3 a pint don't mean it's good. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it just smells. When you open a pack of ham, or a bag of dry roasted peanuts, you get that kind of guff, that ham guff, and they all just smell like ham guff.
You do smell it before you see it, like.
Yeah.
You know what? I've only been to Wetherspoons once. It was when I was in uni. I never went out with people on my course because I was like, I know the places they're going to go. I'm not going to go. But then at the end of the 3 years, everyone was like, come for a bevy. And they took me to that Wetherspoons by Lime Street. And I just remember being sat there like, why have I been brought to this place? Like, it reeks. And like, I feel like everything, it's like proper sticky and like the carpet, no, can't. And I like seeing people order pure big scran in there as well. It used to worry me. Like, why are you having a chicken burger from this establishment?
It's one of those. It's one of those prime. It's the prime example of what happened when we couldn't smoke anymore, and suddenly you can actually smell what a room smelt like. you know, because he didn't smell as fags anymore, and everybody got their sense of smell back, and all that was left was ham, guff, and piss, you know. And
I think that could be a title.
The man looks like
it could be.
the man looks like he smells of ham, guff, and piss.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
100%. That bonus.
You know, it's
Yeah, I think that is the
I'd
definitive
love them
shout.
to be eradicated. I'd love it. You know, when he kept going on the telly, sort of be like, we have to save the pubs and all that. I was like, I would love if the only positive thing to come out of this past year is that you went bust. I was like, I'd fucking love that because he's a knobhead as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, the poor man's work. He's a twat.
Yeah, telling his staff to get other jobs during lockdown.
Horrible.
Go and get a job somewhere else. Yeah, because that's dead easy, mate. Awful fellow. We all agreeing on Wetherspoons then. We might as well, mate.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any
and anybody who disagrees with that's got something missing in their heads. Just gonna put that out there.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I mean, do you know what? It's a shame about Wetherspoon purely because the amount of pubs around Goodison now are dwindling, and Wetherspoons is the one that seems to still be thriving. And I mean, I started going into Springfield, and I think that well, I assume that will be gone now because it was. Owen knows all about Springfield. It was on its way out at the best of times, like, but it just wasn't a nice place. And it's kind of like the only pub you can get sort of different beer. I mean, I know there's the Oak and that gets chocolate, and there's the Black Horse that's miles away from the direction I come. And Wetherspoons is the easy one to go to. You just can't go in there because it's Wetherspoons, and it's quite annoying. But anyway, Mike Blakey's asked. I'll come to you first on this one, Han. If you had to pick another dad, and I'll say for this one, it's not me or Rob, okay? If you had to pick another dad, who would you pick, and why would it be Carlo Ancelotti?
Imagine Carlo as your dad.
We just launched into a eulogy about how much we all love Carlo Ancelotti now.
Ancelotti, as I called him the other day after a week of talking about him. Dead passionate, called him Ancelotti. Imagine how fucking boss it would be. Like, I feel like he'd be so calm as well. Like, you couldn't imagine him ever shouting at you either. It'd be like the eyebrow of like disapproval when you've been a little shit. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's definitely
wouldn't be getting like
levels to that eyebrow, hasn't he? It's the same one that moves, but one's for disappointments, one's for approval. Maybe it goes a bit higher.
Yeah. And one's when he's sort of just like, you know, playing his like as Klopp said, poker face and that. He sort of played that last week. That's so fucking brilliant. I love it when somebody put that filter on it as if he's like crying doing it. So they're like great content. Imagine having, if I had you, Rob and Carlo, little trio.
It'd be a weird household, but yeah, it'd be good.
Imagine. Carlo as a dad would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know who I think would be like a tough dad though? Brands. I reckon he'd be proper strict with his hands on his hip, with his little polo neck on and all that.
I've now got this image of Carlo Ancelotti and Marcel Brands being a couple, and they're both your dad.
They're a very slick couple, to be fair though. I'd be happy with that. Imagine like walk around Italy with them in summer, like going for like a fancy dinner and that. They'd look fucking cool as fuck. I'd love that.
You would. They'd make a great couple, actually, wouldn't they?
They would. It was that picture in summer, I remember, from Finch, and it was them two and Dunk, and them two were all cool. But I think Brands had like his D-squared top on or whatever, and him and Carlo looked at like, you know, could be on the Vespers in summer, and then Dunk just had like his training kit on like that next to them. Dunk has had to be an interesting one.
He would. He would. Although he always seems to come across as dead sound, doesn't he? It's just like he could kick the shit out of anyone if he wanted to. He just doesn't seem to want to as much these days. Yeah.
This is what my dad says to me though, because I can't remember it that much, but when he comes on and does like the post-match interviews and all that, he goes, when he was a player, he would not fucking talk to anybody. He was like, so hearing him come out and speak like that now, he's like, it's mad.
Well, yeah, he had a massive fallout with the press, didn't he?
Yeah.
The press stitched him up badly when he went to Berlin and that. I think that was part of the reason, wasn't it? The hysteria about him up there. Yeah. I think that was one of the reasons he got sent down, because it was such a high-profile case. So he made an example of him. And then after that, he fell out with the Scottish FA. So I don't think he played for Scotland again, did he? After that. And he jibbed off the press completely. So we never heard him speak which was quite heartbreaking at the time, wasn't it? Because it was like, do you remember that? It was sort of like we had this idol and we just never heard an interview.
Yeah.
And it was quite weird, wasn't it?
And he had that weird thing, didn't he? Like, have you seen the film Ghost Dog?
No.
So it's got Forrest Whitaker in it as a sort of reclusive assassin, and he's got a rooftop pigeon loft, right? And the soundtrack is by the RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan, who's in it as well, and it's brilliant. It's really good, and there's these moments where you've got Forrest Whitaker with this sort of like Wu-Tang Clan soundtrack sitting on this roof in New York, sort of tending to his pigeons. And he doesn't say much. And you kind of, back in the day when Duncan didn't speak, the only things that were coming out in the press was the fact that he liked to, kick the shit out of burglars and keep pigeons.
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah. I just had this vision of him, sort of standing on a sort of windy, windswept headland with a little wicker basket with his two favourite pigeons in it,
the image I've just got though, do you know Home Alone 2, the pigeon lady in Central Park? I've just imagined Big Dunk like that, with loads of birds on him. Imagine in Sevi or something, just seeing Big Dunk with loads of pigeons on it by the lake.
that would be his happy place, 100%, that.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Owen, how much do you love Carlo Ancelotti?
A lot. I can't believe I was actually in an argument with someone last week who was trying to tell me Marco Silva had better credentials than Carlo Ancelotti to be the
No.
I mean, why do I get myself into these arguments for one? That's a big thing. But no, Carlo's amazing. Beyond being a great manager, he's just a great human being as well, and he's a great representative for everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Does anyone else want to cry this week when they heard him saying that he wants to stay here for a long time for the stadium and he'll show it? I watched it and was like, and I was in the car and it kept coming on Merseyside News while I was it's like the duration that I was out, and I was like, every time I heard it.
Yeah, I think my problem is I sort of assume that everyone's going to hate Everton as much as we do when they get here. So you think this fella's been all over the world. He's not going to like it at Everton. No chance he's going to like it. And he seems to love it. And then when he comes out with stuff like that, it really does get you, doesn't it? It's like, oh my God, he buys into this and he loves the club. And he is, as you said, Owen, he's a manager who's sort of very fitting of Everton. It's like Klopp's very fitting of Liverpool. It's like, in the 60s, we had Harry Katic, who was a very understated fella, but a really great manager. They had Bill Shankly, who was an equally great manager, but very extrovert with it, and it's kind of like the same sort of thing going on now. I can't believe it made the terrible Shankly, Klopp, Catterick, Ancelotti comparison there, but it's a very similar thing with Everton managers down the years. They've never been that sort of outwardly extrovert type of thing.
And I love that as well. I'm so happy when I think now, even when you see the likes of Pep and that as well, I always say Pep, Ancelotti, them kinds of managers, I always so much prefer at my club. I don't want somebody who, okay, I get sometimes Klopp and Mourinho and people like that. It can be dead exciting, but I feel like you spend a lot of the time trying not to cringe as a fan and then being over thingy to be no, but the passion and all stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would so much prefer to have a little introvert manager who just looks cool. Do you know what I mean? I feel Carlo always just looks very, with his little
he's a very debonair fella.
Yeah, he just always looks like he's on top of everything type of thing, and I prefer that so much more.
He also doesn't wear anything from the club shop.
It's true.
There's one time I remember seeing him coming out in the light blue, as I think it's the light blue training jacket it was, or something like that. I remember seeing that once and being that's dead weird, seeing him in something, go and put your polo neck and blazer on.
He's even got a dead good coat. He doesn't even wear the club shop coat. He's got his own big coat.
Yeah. And his murderer's gloves.
Yeah. Well, I remember when he was
Strangler's gloves.
When he was manager of Chelsea, and we played them. It might have been in a cup game, I'm not sure, but Jay was about 4 or 5, I think, at the time, and we were sat right by the dugout in the family enclosure, and he saw Ancelotti walking up, and he said to me, why does he look like a baddie? Because he had this long black coat, black leather gloves, black kecks and black shoes. It was just so in black. His hair was a bit darker at the time, and he did just look like a proper villain. But
is that mad? Because he's a proper softie as well. Like, isn't that just boss?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest compliment you can pay to him is that Jose Mourinho likes him. Jose Mourinho hates everyone.
Yeah, loves him. Absolutely
Our
loves
boss
him,
was that
doesn't he?
piece that BT did before the Spurs game. That was one of the classiest things I've ever seen before a game. And I watched that so many times, hearing the two managers of their calibre talking about each other.
Yeah.
Saying when they beat each other, it's not 100% win for them and everything. I was like, oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
you could almost tell in the post-match that Mourinho wasn't really that bothered because he'd lost to Carlo.
Yeah.
He was almost, there was like a little wry smile. There was like a little wry smile on his face, and he didn't look that pissed off. And he was almost like, "I lost, but I lost to Carlo." So,
would have been different if they lost 5-4 at Anfield, wouldn't it? I think it's the meaning would have been a lot different then. That seems a shame to move on to that, but we're going to have to. That was lovely. Foxy's asked if you had to sell one of our centre backs in the summer and bring in Gibson or Branthwaite as fourth choice to finance a move for a new right back, who would you sell? Looking for strong football discussion here, not the merits of being slide tackled by God Benfrey or Mason, which is a fair point. God Benfrey's actually replied to this one. Not sure if it's the real God Benfrey, but Gibson's choice is not a viable option. All our four centre-backs have an important role, but I would say Holgate because he's playing at right back as it is. And if we're doing this to fund the right back, then it makes the most sense for me. Definitely don't want him out, though, which I think is a fair shout.
I agree with that fully. I feel like if you're weighing them up together, I find it dead weird because going into the season, it was Holgate. He is the one for us. And then once that injury came, we all our bottle went a bit. And then since then, I feel like it is a bit heavy on the lads, but he has sort of, dwindled behind. I would say the last, the derby, he really made up for a lot. I thought he shows them all characteristics again. But out of the lineup that you've got, it is crazy to say now because a year ago I would never have heard yourself say it, but he is the weaker link, really, isn't it? And I don't like saying that because he's sick as well and he's boss, but he is.
It's a good position to be in when Holgate's considered the weakest link in defence.
Exactly. But it just feels weird because this point last year I was like, no, was arguing points about that's the thing, and I actually think that might have played to a disadvantage to him, that we all got on this big thing Bainesy and Coleman said that he's the future captain, blah 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 blah. So I think that game that he started, was it back in November, that we all might have been a bit too worried about it. So it seems like more of a disappointment than it actually should have been made out to be. I don't know.
But he's a young player coming back from a long layoff. He's had bits and pieces. So, but I know exactly what you mean. Dan,
and I'd favour Branthwaite, by the way, as well.
Over Gibson, Dan?
Yeah, I must admit, I've gone down the same pathway. I think Gibson's probably time is maybe up at Everton. He probably needs to progress further now. And with the emergence of Branthwaite, who's left-footed, and I know Gibson's left-footed, I think as well. But Holgate just seems to be, out of those four, probably Godfrey's got a slightly higher development ceiling, I suppose. With Keane and Mina, you've got the experience. When Keane's confident and he's a great sort of wall of a defender. Mina's a bit erratic, but I think on his day as is an experienced and effective defender. I think you'd probably get the most money for Holgate in the sense of Keane's 28 or whatever it is now, and stuff like that. So I think if you're going to fund the move for Max Aarons, come on, then it'll probably be Holgate that would probably have to be the sacrifice, unfortunately.
Yeah. Owen?
I mean, this should be totally hypothetical because I wouldn't sell any of them, because the Godfrey and Holgate sort of situations, they can cover a full-back as well. Yeah. Keane and Mooney are really good defenders. And I'm unsure on the two young lads that... Who asked the question, sorry?
It was Foxy.
I'm unsure on the young lads, Foxy. I don't see a future for Lewis Gibson or Everton, if I'm being totally honest. I think he's nice on the ball, but I don't think he's a great defender. Branthwaite, he looked good at Everton, but every time I've seen him at Blackburn, he's been quite suspect. We'll have to see him develop, but I wouldn't sell any of our centre-backs to fund to bringing them in. So
I think the thing with Branthwaite as well, he's only 18, isn't he?
Mm.
He's got
there's a high development ceiling there for sure, but I wouldn't get rid of any of our centre-backs to bring him in at the moment. But if I had to choose one, it would probably be Holgate, because I just think defensively he's the weakest out of the four.
Yeah. It'd be such a shame to just like split up that little trio though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it never happened.
Holgate. You can see the three best mates.
No, I don't think that's realistic. Any of them getting sold this summer.
No. Warren has asked, who's your favourite video game character and why? So he's given everyone a heads up and said, I'll tell you it's either Solid Snake from the Metal Gear series or Arthur Morgan. Got to admit, I don't know who Arthur Morgan is. Anyone?
Not a fucking clue.
Dan, I'll come to you first on this.
It's difficult because of the stuff I play. I mostly play PES in the dead of night. But when I do play stuff that isn't that, I play Destiny a lot. Destiny 2 and stuff like that. Although my son's just started to sort of play, stop playing his kind of sandbox online stuff that he does. Like he plays this game called Roblox, which is like this big sort of thing. But he's sort of started to play on the PlayStation now, and we play Tomb Raider together.
Oh yeah.
So, it'd probably have to be the classic because he loves it. Or Drake's Uncharted. He likes those two because you've got that bit of puzzle element and sort of like, action element, and he's really digging it at the moment. So I think it might be Drake's Uncharted or something like that, I think.
Yeah. Sound. Arthur Morgan's from Red Dead Redemption. I've not played it.
Of course.
It's like GTA with horses, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hannah?
Right, so I haven't played video games in years, so I'm just going to have to go with the one that I do dip in and out of, which would be on Mario Kart. I'm going to have to go for Waluigi, because I just loved it, because he was meant to be like the audible one, where he all big, like lanky and all this shit going on. And I used to just always like argue with people to be Waluigi. I just loved it, and I remembered him having like one of the sick like motorbikes on it as well, and because he was all tall and that, so I was gonna go for Waluigi.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think my favourite games are Mario games still. Mario Kart's still one of the best ever.
So much fun, isn't it? I've never been so like competitive playing anything ever. It's so much fun.
And you can just dip in and out of it. It's not like where you've got a big story to complete. You can listen a 10-minute game and you don't.
Oh, see, I can't do a 10-minute game. I wouldn't play it for like 6 months to a year. But once I go on it, I lose a lot of time, because you go, I used to love Moo Moo Meadows or shit like that, and ends up on all courses you used to love.
Rainbow Road can fuck off though.
Oh, and I used to love Rainbow Road, you know? That's the one you have to go past it. Yeah, and you go into like the universe.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not good enough to play Rainbow Road. Owen, who's yours?
I haven't played any video games other than FIFA or Football Manager for about 5 or more years. I remember playing Mario Kart, but I don't remember too much about it, to be honest. But if I'm going to have to give an answer, I'd probably have to say Dominic Calvert-Lewin on FIFA. An absolute cheat code. Ping the ball long to him in the half space and you're in every time, I'm telling you.
That is clearly the right answer to this question. Keith asked, what's the biggest lie you've ever told, and are you still scared it'll come back to haunt you? Answer this however you want. I realise this is could be quite a sticky question, but Owen, will come to you first.
Oh no, come to me last. I'll have to think about this.
Hannah?
Oh, I knew you were going to come to me next. I can't think of anything that would get me in trouble.
The only one I can think of is one I was told, rather, because I told some absolute whoppers in my time, don't get me wrong, but one I was told when I was about 4 or 5. My mum and dad said they were taking me to London. I think I've told the story before, but he said they were taking me to London. So we had to take me out to school for the day. And till I was about 18, I thought I'd been to London and I had me take Chester for the day. But they thought they would never get me out of school for the day if they said they were going to Chester. So they said it was London. There's a little bridge just past the Fountain Roundabout in Chester. I thought that was London Bridge. It's literally about 2 years long over a canal. They told me that was London Bridge for years.
Brilliant.
For literally 15 years or so, I thought I'd been to London.
Brilliant.
Chester. So
Wow.
that's something to go
You
off.
lived the dream as a child.
Oh my God, didn't I? Dan, have you got any you can think of?
I'm not going to incriminate myself.
Well, this is what I thought. Maybe people don't want to do that.
But the one sort of it's not a lie, I suppose. It's a half truth.
There's a difference.
Legally, probably not. But Your Honour. But no, do you know what it is? It's my name. I reinvented myself in my late teens because I was in a band, and the name Daniel Price sucks balls when you're in a band. Well, it did back in the 90s, you know. So we all changed our names in my band, and our bass player was Matt Black. The guitarist was called Marshall Stack with a double X, and I called myself Daniel Vane. Because my girlfriend at the time said to me one day when we were going out, because I was standing in front of the mirror, putting my makeup on and toweling my once beautiful hair, and she said, "You're the vainest person I've ever met in my life." And I thought, that's fabulous. So I called myself Daniel Vane in a magazine. I started calling myself Daniel Vane all the time. I started signing stuff Daniel Vane. It just stuck. And then I got a job in London, and everybody at work knew me as Daniel Vane. And then it started to sort of snowball into social media and all that sort of stuff. And there are still people that, when I met my wife, she didn't know I wasn't Daniel Vane for about a year. And until we started to get mildly serious. And then she saw my bank card one day and was like, "Who's Daniel Price?" And I was like, "I'm Daniel Price." And she was like, "Daniel Vane." I was like, "I'm not Daniel Vane. It's just a thing." And it, you know, like in Only Fools and Horses, where he gets called Dave all the time.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I couldn't say to people in my, you know, by then I was nearly in my 30s by then. And there were people that I'd known for a decade that called me Daniel Vane. They sent my Christmas cards to Daniel Vane. They sent birthday presents to Daniel Vane. I'd get parcels. It's a nightmare because there are still people that call me it in the beer industry, in my life. And I've only just started going back to being Daniel Price, like properly back to being Daniel Price publicly. And I got a parcel delivered from a brewery the other day of beer. They sent me some free beer. And I wasn't in. And it was addressed to Mr. Daniel Vane. And when I went to pick it up at the post office, they wouldn't let me have it.
Oh, because your ID?
Because my ID has got Daniel Price on it. I worked for a company once, and I had to get a flight to Madrid. And it was like a last minute thing. I had to get out there to take some stuff to this company that was working, weirdly, they were working in the Bernabeu. They were doing a job for Siemens Mobile. And my boss said, "Right, we're putting you on a flight today. You need to go today." And I got to Stansted Airport and the tickets were booked in Daniel Vane and they wouldn't let me on the plane.
Yeah.
So I've started to go back to calling myself Daniel Price, although all my Twitter and all that is Daniel Vane, obviously. But I guess that's the one sort of lie that I started 20 years ago that's stuck with me even to this day.
Yeah.
I've remembered a lie now that I've done.
Go ahead.
Right. So when I was like 18, 19, I want to say, and I worked in Topshop, I'd only been there for, I think about a couple of weeks, and I won tickets to a festival in Kent, this techno festival that I wanted to go to, and it fell on the same weekend as Leeds and Creamfields. So there was no fucking chance I was getting it off. But I was like, I'm not missing this. So I just had to pull the old tonsillitis and had to ring Friday, Saturday, Sunday from my tent at 6 a.m, like, hello, like that, like telling everyone to shh for like all around. He was camping around, and I had my sleeping bag over my head because I was like, you can tell if someone's outside ringing you, like, hello, and I have to like do that every morning. I remember I was like, if I just chain smoke a bit before I ring, obviously my throat's gonna sound a little bit fragile, so I was just like that, not like chain smoking a few ciggies at 6 a.m, and would just go in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just ring up and say, oh yeah, my tonsillitis is dead bad. And then I was Googling, they were like, what antibiotics have you been given? And I was like, that, like, couldn't even see, like, Googling things like amoxicillin, like that. Dig myself into this big, deep web of lies. Yeah,
but at 6 a.m. at a festival, you don't even have to get into that headspace, do you, to pull a sickie? You're probably off there anyway.
Yeah, I think it's because I had to keep it up for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was like putting an alarm on my phone because I was like, I've got to remember to ring back up and like follow this over for the next few days. So that was my thing. Like the alarm would go off on my phone and I'd be like going to get shelter away from everybody. Like, hi, it's Hannah.
The hardest thing with that as well would have been just not putting anything on social media.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, I tell a lie because I didn't really like the people I worked with that much. I just made the decision I would rather savor these moments more than have you on social media. So I just blocked everyone I worked with. I was like, that's my solution. I've had a really nice time.
Good work. I like it. Owen?
This is slightly light-hearted, but on the way to Newcastle last season, it's more Everton related, so it's not really serious. There was a bloke who I was sitting next to on the coach, and I convinced him that for the previous season, Martin Dubravka was our number 2 goalkeeper, and he was like, no. Oh yeah, I think you might be right, mate. I remember him now. So on the way there, I convinced him that Martin Dubravka was Everton's number 2, and said, I was even saying to him, I can't believe we let him go and kept Pickford, and he went, oh, I know, mate, I know. He started off saying, no chance, and then he was like convinced this happened. I don't know, even though to this day he thought for the 18-19 season our number 2 goalkeeper was Martin Dubravka. I don't know how I pulled it off, but I thought it was shit.
How did the conversation come about in the first place?
No, if we were talking about Newcastle, I said Dubravka's a good keeper, and I thought, oh, this is a good chance. He's absolutely bevied. I said he was good after us on the bench that season. He went, yeah, he was, wasn't he? After about 2 minutes, I'd say convincing him. It was too good of an opportunity to pass because he didn't know what he was going on about, but I convinced Dubravka was our number 2 goalkeeper the previous season.
And you do know he was telling everyone at half time about this. Yeah, last season, definitely, 100%.
He's not been loud in the ground even before COVID.
Right, last question. Jack Carlisle has asked, is there a better beer than the first one on a Friday after work? Probably not.
100% not.
On a theme, what's the first beer garden you'll be heading to on 17th of April? Obviously, all being well. Keith said, has to be Rigby's Courtyard, surely. And on that note, the first pint back in the pub after an Everton win ranks quite highly. Cannot wait for that. But Dan, come to you first, mate. First beer garden you got your eye on?
I was talking about this to a couple of mates on Twitter this week. I think it's going to be the Free Trade in Newcastle, which is probably my favourite pub on the planet, and it's up in Ousburn, and it's got this view down the river, and the windows of the pub are like these big picture windows, and when the sun sets, you just look straight down the river, and they've got this little tiny beer garden out the front that's on this little hill that goes down to the Tyne. And it's run by this guy called Mick, who's incredible. So the minute there was a load of us talking about it on Twitter, and this guy I know who's got this brewery out in Norfolk, he's this sort of Southern American guy. And he's very kind of, classic sort of that amazing Southern American drawl, And he tweeted last night, anybody that knows me knows that I don't do hugs. I find it all a bit too personal and the contact makes me uncomfortable. But just to let you know, when this is all over, I'm hugging the fucking shit out of everyone. and I replied to him, I was like, and he said, I might even cry a bit too. And we got talking about where we're all going to meet, and I think we're all going to meet there if we can. And I've also warned everybody that I'll probably, the first pint standing in that pub probably cause me to weep a bit as well. So the free trade-in Newcastle, absolutely.
Alta, yeah, it's going to be a good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hannah.
Oh, so mine's not going to be as exciting. It's just going to be somewhere in town. But I think, you know what, the place that I just associate with like a lovely day like today where the sun's beaming down and that, and it's just dead chill, the Buyers Club. I just think it's such a sound place, and then everywhere's near it as well. And I just feel it's a proper boss gaff to just go and sit and chat all day in the sun having a bevy.
Yeah.
So I think that's like up there. And the day that we can go be at the gardens again is the day after my birthday. So I'm gonna be milking it that week because the open the same week. So yeah, I think there. Or where else in town? I just think the merchants. Nice. Cas Gardens, yeah. But you know what though? It's a nightmare to get into because they're still going to be having the social distance and that then. And I kept trying to go last summer, and it was just a fucking nightmare to get into. It's like once people are in there, they're like, we can't lose these precious spaces. We're here now, type of thing. So because it put me off going a bit for so fucking long, because I'm like, it's not even worth the hassle and effort and the waiting anymore. So that's more of a by June where there's not social distance, and hopefully anymore that's a cash shout. But I think I'll put off until then because I've waited this long to go to a beer garden. I'm not queuing for somewhere. I'm gonna get somewhere. I'm gonna set up shop for the day, and that's it. I'm not dealing with any queuing or none of that nonsense.
Yeah, good shout.
Mine's going to be even less exciting now, and probably say the Black Horse by ours. Just somewhere local where I don't have to travel beyond where I could walking distance. And I know I won't get lost and dizzy, but I need to mark the moment. So I'll probably say the Black Horse.
Yeah, that's a good shout. There's a little pub called the Coach and Horses by us in Greasby, and it's one of the few pubs that's still a proper old man's pub. It's got like really weird offset rooms. It's nothing to look at all. It's got this proper little sun trap at the back of it. Only a tiny little courtyard, raised above like ground level, but it's a really, really nice sun trap. So that'll be nice. Or Marine Street Social, I think, in New Brighton. That's got a rooftop garden that looks over the Mersey, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to see Bramley Moor Dock from there. I think that might be round the corner. But yeah, somewhere like that for me. I think we're all agreed we can't wait for that though, just to get out.
I'm just going to throw one more in that I forgot. The botanical gin garden in the Baltic Triangle. 100% actually. That's such a nice place to sit out in the summer, and they do proper nice pizza and that as well. Yeah. So yeah, botanical garden.
Yeah, it's a cracking gaff. 100%. Right, on that happy note, the sun's shining, so we might be able to get out in the garden and have a little bevy ourselves today. Thanks to Dan, thanks to Hannah, thanks to Owen, thanks to everyone who sent questions in. We will catch you next time on Mailbag.